Hello everybody, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My lovely name is Bilha Wangui. If you're new here, thank you so much for subscribing, and if you've not already subscribed, please subscribe and hit that notification bell so that anytime we upload new content, you'll be the first to know. On today's episode, I'll be looking at a topic, or rather an issue, a challenge in our generation that is ignored by so many. According to me, it is the root cause of so many problems that we have in the lives of men and women. I'll be looking at the sorrows of a fatherless generation. A father is a key role when it comes to the life of any human being that is born on earth. The devil knows this. That is why he's making sure that we have so many men in the world, but we lack fathers, because being a father is about your structure, who you are. So you find out that we have a serious attack on fathers. The role of a father cannot be replaced by a mother. And you see, things have become so bad today that we have what they call the single moms clubs, single moms associations, where women who have children but without a father figure, they meet and console themselves. But that is not the system of God when it comes to the bringing forth of children. That is not the order of God. Family remains the order of God for bringing forth children. It is the environment that God created to bring forth children. When you look at the book of Genesis, before Adam had children, there was already a structure on ground, the structure of a family. But today that has been destroyed. It has been so much destroyed that you who is watching me right now, I'm sure that you know of a child, or you know of somebody who has a child that does not have the authority of a father in their life. And the impact of this cannot be overemphasized. I watched a talk show called Family Matters. It was done on the Morning Cloud Television Global by Apostle Richard Takim of the Cry of the Spirit Ministries Global, with two guests, Mr. Reverend Edward Ngaira and Mr. Martins. And I can tell you that they really brought forth the importance of a father in the life of a child, both naturally and spiritually. I am going to play just a part of this video, but I will also copy the link below so that you can go and watch the entire video for you to be more enlightened. Check this out.
There's a crisis of identity because of ignorance. So, sir, who is a father?
Wow. I believe that a father, first and foremost, is a protector. Because I am a father of 3 girls, and when I look at those 3 girls, what I hear from them, not verbally, but I look at them in totality, they're asking for protection. And I am a symbol of protection around my girls, so that I'll be there to defend them. If there are issues, they always will call me. As you heard in the introduction, one of my daughters is 24 years old. She already drives my car, and so she's very respectful. She takes the car. One day she was arrested by the police. She was stopped because she just barely crossed the lights. It was turning from green towards, go back to red. And so she just happened to break the law right there. And the police stopped her, flagged her down, and she was in serious trouble. Guess who she called? She called me. Number 2, Apostle, I see fathers as providers. Fathers are providers. Again, citing from my own examples, I like to make it light and just say it's not very cheap to raise up girls. And one of the places where my money really goes into is making of the hair. And so today I have to pay for this, and then I'm thinking I've done it. Very soon they're coming for some more, and very soon they're coming for some more. And it's a continuous thing that there is need for provision. And so my identity as a father, I found that in the lives of my children, I am a provider. I provide their food, I put a a roof on top of their heads, and I make sure that they're clothed and they're healthy, and the provisions that they need. I pay their school fees. I am there to provide, and it's a responsibility I know many fathers run away from, but I am the kind of father that I love to do it, and it's never a burden for me to provide for my children. Fathers are really praisers. Our children need to be praised. Our children need to be affirmed. And I take it right from the scriptures, Apostle. When Jesus appeared in his public ministry, this is what the Father did. He spoke and says, this is my beloved Son, in whom I am well pleased. Hear you him. You see, there are three things that he was doing that. He was affirming the Son by saying to him that I love you. And children need to be told. And the expression that I love you, you're important to me. You are mine. That's what God the Father was telling Jesus, that you belong. You're mine. This is my beloved Son. And then announcing to the whole world, I'm pleased with him, listen to him. I mean, what that would do to a small boy, a small girl, when the father is proud of their girl and say, that is my daughter. When you bring that affirmation to those little people, growing up young teenagers and young adults, I mean, you boost their ego. You give them a foundation. They come from that place of refuge, and they can face the world out there because of what? My dad, he believes in me. And so we are praisers. We need to see ourselves as praisers of our children. There's something that is so important for us to do in the lives of our children. Presence. We just need to be present.
A father is not just, from what you've said, a father is not just the man who got your mother pregnant with you. That one could just be a sperm donor. You get my point? It's not the man who just got your mother pregnant. A father is he who can protect you, who can provide.
People become biological fathers before understanding fatherhood. Because even their fathers did not understand fatherhood.
It's now you're talking.
Yeah?
The fathers themselves, where they came from.
Yeah. And one of the things that a father, in my opinion, should do is you should give a purpose. You give the family, the children, a purpose in life. You give them a foundation which they can build on. But see, if you do not have a foundation yourself, you have nothing to give out. And it is easy for you to fall into that aspect that as long as I have somebody who takes care of me and I do the biological aspect of a father, then I'm a father. We miss it. One of the responsibilities of fathers is to make children to set their hope in God. Okay? As a father, if you not help your children to set their hope in God, you failed. Okay? And not forget the works of God. Always reminding them of what God has done. But you see, you cannot tell them what God has done if God has not done anything to you. Okay? So the fathers have a responsibility to know God for themselves, that they may pass this knowledge to their children.
There's a generational gap somehow. Maybe those that were supposed to tell these stories, like what you've said, that's supposed to promote these values, they are like extinct.
God wants fathers to carry the knowledge they have to their children, is because God does not want to do to the children what he did to the fathers. Because God has much more to do. So if the fathers do not pass to the children what God did to them, these children lack the foundation. So God will always do the work of building the foundation on the children. But see, fathers are supposed to establish the foundation for God to build on the children to the next level, the next generation. And that's what, in that verse 78, it speaks about fathers who failed to show their children what God did, and made the children not to be able to know God, the God whom their fathers knew.
No, which means, like from what he said, those definitions, those other things that make someone a father. And now, from what you have said, what I've gathered is, this generation of young men who look for ready-made women to get married to, and defeating the purpose of fathering, of being a father, is simply because maybe their own fathers did not teach them these values. Where can this current generation of men go to get this identity? how can they come back to fatherhood? To them being fathers. Yes, maybe I begin with to them.
Yes.
Bro Martins, you will now respond to that.
Yes, thank you so much again, and for the wealth of wisdom. I think that one of the things that I need to mention as you ask the question is the scenario that we're looking at is pure laziness, where people want to marry ready-made women who have got all this material wealth, and they just want to come and fit in. It's a sense of laziness of the mind and just imagination and the possibilities of what could happen. But also thinking about where to find this mentorship, I think that the church is one of those places where there is hope, because initiatives like what you're doing right here, putting up a show to enlighten and teach and help the people to begin to understand the roles and responsibilities, I think it's a good place, and church needs to be that kind of a place. But better still, if families were the place where Peter was talking about, that the father is the one now that is passing on this knowledge to the next generation. And I think that would be an interesting thing to think about, Peter. What is it that we need to be teaching our young men and our young ladies? I think that we need to teach, like I just opened the part of the scripture in Proverbs 6 that says that go to the ant, you sluggard. Well, how about having this placard in your toilet or in your kitchen? Go to the ant, you lazy man or lazy girl. I have personally read this to my children. It says, consider her ways. And be wise, just by studying the ant. I mean, this teaches industry.
Now, when the family fails, the church have to come in for rescue.
Wow. As you have seen in this video, in this short clip, fathers have major roles in the life of children, both naturally and spiritually. It is not just in the natural aspects. For women because there are women who believe that they want to be single mothers, they don't want to have a man in their lives. Such women don't understand the kind of issues that they put their children into by allowing them to grow in such a system. God was not stupid when he made a man and a woman and then brought forth children. It was an order that he showed us, but we've gone in our own ways. We now want it the way we want, not the way God wants it to be, without understanding what God is trying to protect us from by giving us this system to bring forth children. If you're a mother and you have a child that is born without a father figure, maybe you are born in a structure of a family, you will never really understand what that child goes through. You can't understand because the system that you are raised in is the right system. It is the right environment. But the system that you've chosen or decided to bring forth your child, it is a system that is disorderly. It is not how God ordained it to be. As a result, you open up the life of your child to so much attacks, both naturally and spiritually. This topic is very personal to me because I am one of those who grew up without the pillar of a father. I just grew up like that. And the effect that has had on me, I'm sure that somebody who has been born in the right system didn't, or rather they didn't go through those kind of things. In this clip, they highlighted the roles of a father, and I will start with the natural roles that they highlighted. And one of them is a father is a provider. The father provides for the children. So that providing, having somebody who can provide for you, who can buy you clothes, buy you toys if you're a young child, take you out, do all these things, provide for you a shelter, a home, a covering. That is what fathers do. That is what they provide. But if you've grown in a system that lacks that pillar, you will not have that aspect of your life taken care of. So as a result, you depend on the masses of people, anyone who will be merciful on you. And in this generation, it is not everybody who is generous enough or kind enough to take care of a person who is not their own by blood. We don't have so many of those kinds of people. So children are born without provision. So they can't go to school, or even if they go to school, they struggle so much in going to school. Like for me, I will say that in the area of education, I struggled a lot, because the higher you go in terms of your education level, in primary school and high school, it is not that weighty or expensive, but the higher you go, it becomes expensive. So if there's no that pillar in your life that provides for you when it comes to even education, it gets to a point where you either you forgo your education, because you see so many children on the streets, young children, very young, who are supposed to be maybe in primary school, in high school, or in campus. You see them just in streets. Some are selling, some are begging. Why? Because there's not that pillar that provides for a child. The pillar does not exist. Yes, there was a man who impregnated a woman, but there was no father. Because a father is by structure, like I said before, it's by structure. They know that I ought to provide for this person. So when you lack that, you suffer. When it comes to upbringing, you suffer a lot. Families may take care of you, some may take care of you, but it gets to a time where they are limited, because they also have their own children. They are limited. That is why every child is supposed to be raised by their mother and their father in God's order. So when we do it outside, these children will grow up. Sometimes they develop even the mentality of begging, because they don't have somebody who can provide for them without them asking for it. Because a father provides even without you asking. He will see that you need to go to school and start providing school fees. He will see that you're growing as a woman and start providing for you what you need. But if you don't have that, how you grow up, it's a crazy environment. For me, I got to a level in campus where I remember I had to stop my education and look for a job. And the job that I found, it was not a good job. Again, I was not born again. So I went and I was working in a club. Why? Because you can't get a noble job without the right education. You can't. So the only thing that you may find is just something little on the side that you can use to survive. So that is what I used to do. And the funny thing is, whatever it is that you're getting from this, it cannot even cater for the needs, that education that you're looking for. It can't cater for it. So you will be working just to feed and to survive. It's not to develop yourself. And it is not ordained for a child to be working to provide for themselves. It is not ordained like that. It is the father, that pillar of a father, that should provide for the child. But today, so many men, but no fathers. They are running away from responsibility, the responsibility of provision. People are giving birth without planning, outside the system that God ordained. So you bring forth children and leave them in the hands of women, and those children suffer when it comes to provision. The second role of a father they highlighted was that a father is a protector. A father will protect you from things naturally and still things spiritually, especially if the father you have is a godly one, a father who fears the Lord. They will protect you naturally and they will also protect you spiritually. There are some vices that cannot come into your life if you have a father figure. Because I see fathers as a door. You're a house. As a person, you're a house. Your father is the door. So anything from outside that wants to get into your life, if you have a father figure in your life, they find the door. And if that thing is not good, your father cannot allow it to come into your life. Your father cannot see you moving in the wrong direction and just watch you do it. No. The father will protect you from moving in that wrong direction. When your father sees that you're bringing a wrong friend in your life who is bound to destroy you, your father, he will protect you from that. He will tell you, this friend, no. And fathers know better. That is why we need them. That is why the children need them. It is for upbringing. So a father will protect you from vices that may come into your life, that may want to come into your life. And a father will also protect you spiritually in matters of, he will cover your life with prayer if he is a godly father. And there are a lot of spiritual decadence that will not enter your life because you have a father. A genuine father, not just a man. Because we have men who don't protect their children. They rather, some will want to sleep with their children. That is not a father. That one is not a father. So a father seeks to protect you. It is like how a hen protects the chicks. A father will protect you. A real father will protect you. But because we don't have this structure of fathers, we don't have fathers in our generation, children are exposed to so much. When you look at these children who are born without the structure of a father, you see them in so many vices. You see them in so many lifestyles. You see them in so many habits. Why? Because there was no pillar to protect them from all these invasions of darkness into their lives. So they are exposed. They don't have a covering. They are exposed. The other role of a father is that fathers are praisers. That is what Reverend Edward said. Fathers are praisers. You praise and you affirm your children. You see the capabilities of your children and you praise them, you affirm them. You see the talents of your children and you affirm them. And that affirmation of fathers to children, it makes children grow with confidence. It makes children grow with esteem. It makes them ready to face the world. But when you grow up without that pillar that praises you, when maybe you perform well in school, they are proud of you. They tell you they are proud of you, that you make them proud. If you don't have that pillar, any effort that you make in life, even if it is positive and there's nobody to like affirm it, it doesn't build anything in you. It doesn't make you tall in life. So you grow up so small in life because you've not had anybody praising you, affirming those things that you can do. He explained it with when Jesus was baptized and God affirmed him that this is my beloved son. That is what fathers do. Even to their friends, to their families, they will be proud of you. They will be proud to say, this is my child. He can do this. He has done this. And that form of pride in you, it boosts your confidence. So if you grow up without that pillar that praises you, that affirms your capabilities, sometimes you grow up without even understanding yourself, without understanding what you can do, because nobody pointed out those things to you. I am in my late 20s, and I can tell you that some of the things that I know today that I'm good at, I didn't know that earlier on in life. These are things that I'm discovering now because God in his mercies has brought an authority, a father authority, who can point out those things, those areas that you're good at. So we slow down the development of children and we kill their momentum to face the world if we raise them without having that pillar that praises them. You see, we have good mothers who raise their children alone. It is good, but it is not enough, and it is not the order of God. You see, those mothers, some don't, there are some that are very bitter, and so they bring the bitterness they have on the children, maybe because of how they were born or because of their fathers. So as a result, that pillar that is supposed to nurture the child becomes what crushes that child. It crushes that child because most single mothers, most of them, they are not happy. They are not happy with how they found themselves in that situation. And sometimes unknowingly, they will bring it out on the children. So those children will grow up without an identity. They will grow up without knowing what they can do because nobody has told them what they can do. They will grow up without knowing their strength because nobody has told them of their strength. Rather, the people around have been pointing out to their weaknesses. So those children will be identifying themselves with their weaknesses, with what they can't do. But they will never come into the realization of the treasures that are buried in them because they lack the pillar that does that. The other role of a father in the life of children is just to be present. This one makes so much sense to me because I remember in primary school, I was in a boarding school. And during visiting, I was in a boarding school in primary and in high school. So during visiting days, you see fathers and mothers coming to visit their children. But you, as happy as you are that your mother came and with your relatives, with your uncles and with your aunties, you still feel a void because there's someone that is supposed to be there that is not there. There is a void it lives in the life of a child. I'm telling you from experience that any child that is born and then raised without a father will have that void in them. They will be looking for that figure, that father figure in life. They'll be looking in every man that they see. They'll be looking in for a father figure in them. That is why you see some, they end up with old men. Why? Because they are looking for a father. That is what they are looking for. They are not really looking for relationships, but they are looking for a father. But these men that they go to, they are not fathers. They are just men who just want to exploit their youthfulness. So you grow up vulnerable to perversion, vulnerable to lies, vulnerable to deceptions from men. Why? Because you have a void in you. You may not understand that you have a void in you, but you have a void in you if you grow up without a father. If you are raised without, you could have been surrounded by fathers. Like me, in my situation, I grew up with my cousins and they had a father and they had a mother. So the funny thing is that I used to call my uncle my dad and I used to call my auntie my mom. And I used to love that, calling somebody dad and calling somebody mom. But if you look at it, they are not the structure for me. They are the structure for their own children. My own structure does not exist. So even if I'm calling them dad and I'm calling them mom, there will still be a void in my life. There was still a void in my life. I saw something funny. When me and my cousins did something wrong, my uncle, who I used to call my dad, he will not discipline me. He wouldn't. He wouldn't say anything to me. But his own children, he will discipline them so well. So you see, though that is another aspect of fathers, which I will come to, you see that structure that was there, even if I was calling it dad and mom, it was not my structure. It could not play the roles that a father should play in my life because that is not my father. So you see, you don't understand the void that you create in the life of your child when you choose to bring forth a child. And okay, sometimes it is not by decision, sometimes it is by circumstances. But if we can just understand the impact that we bring in the life of these children by raising them up in a system that God never ordained, we will stop all this premarital sex that we are having without caring. Yes, it is very easy to have sex and to get pregnant. But what are the consequences in the life of that child that you have brought forth? Like I said earlier, you may not face the consequences because your structure was okay. You had the pillar of a father and the pillar of a mother. Your structure was okay. So these consequences, you can never see them. But your child who you've brought forth will be facing these consequences sometimes without you knowing. And that is the sad thing about it. That is why the only solution for this kind of children that are born in this kind of way, the only solution is God. The other importance of a father, which now comes to the spiritual aspect, is a godly heritage. A father will teach a child, especially a godly father, will teach a child how to set their hope in God, how to believe in God, the God that they have believed in. That is why I said we have men, but we don't have fathers. Because if a father cannot teach you how to set your hope in God, he has not done anything. He may have provided for you, he may have protected you, he may have praised you, he may have been in your life. But if he has not given you that godly heritage of fearing God, he has not fulfilled his purpose as a father. Because if you as a child, you're coming up, and let me read it in the book of Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6. Proverbs chapter 22 verse 6. And it says, train up a child in the way he should go, and when he is old, he will not depart from it. So if you as a father, you train your child in the way of setting their hope in God, believing God, having faith in God, when that child grows up, even if something happens and maybe that child diverts their ways and find themselves in darkness, like the prodigal son one day, those ways that you trained that child when that child was young, that child will come back to those ways. But when we lack fathers, the children that we birth, they are raised in ways of darkness. For one, I need you to understand that any child that is born out of wedlock, that child is born in darkness. And that child will always have the mark of darkness in their lives unless they find Christ. And how many of these children will find Christ, especially in a generation where we do not have churches that introduce you to Christ? Not many will find this hope. So I want you to understand the seriousness of this, because it may seem like a normal thing because we've taken it to be normal. But it is only the children who are born in that system and raised in that system where they lack fathers who can understand the impact of this issue. The other role of a father is to give the children a godly foundation. And I will read Proverbs chapter 13 verse 24. The same Proverbs, but 13 verse 24. It says, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. So one foundation of godly foundation is discipline. Because if you look at it, the purpose of the gospel is to cause men and women to live disciplined lives. And this comes from the foundation that has already been laid when you are being raised up. But when there is no that foundation, you will grow up doing crazy things. And like I said, any child that is born out of wedlock, that child is born in darkness. And as a result, there will be a mark of darkness on that child. So you'll see that child at a very young age, at a very tender age, the child will start manifesting certain characters in their lives. Why? Because already there's no foundation, there's no protection from all these kinds of vices from a pillar called a father. So anything will be happening in the life of this child, and there will be nobody to correct, because the authority to correct a child is in the hands of the father. If you look at it, most children don't even listen to their mothers. But when you say, I will say you to dad, that one changes everything. So that authority that disciplines, that factors discipline in the life of a child, if it does not exist, that child will grow up indisciplined. It will be a structure already formed in them. It will be a structure because the scripture says in 13 verse 24, he who spares his rod hates his son, but he who loves him disciplines him promptly. So if you're doing certain things as a child and nobody is disciplining you by either beating or slapping, that thing that you're doing, you will grow with it. And when you grow with it, it becomes a structure in you. So now when you get born again, when you meet Christ, and now you want to walk in the ways of light, the ways of darkness that were structured in you, because there was nobody to discipline you, nobody to use the rod of correction on you, they become a stumbling block when it comes to your walk with God. Why? Because it is like starting from square one, starting to build a house from the beginning. This house is already constructed because those structure, those habits, those characters, they have already constructed you into somebody. So when you meet Christ, he will first have to start demolishing that structure that is already built before he can bring and form his own structure. So you see someone struggling with Christ, struggling with the Holy Spirit. Why? Because they don't even understand that the structure that they have is a wrong structure because of how they were raised. So before that comes into understanding, because if you look at it, we do not have men, genuine men of God who are speaking these things, who are going to the root cause of the problem. Most of them are just going to your village, but they're not going to the root cause of the issue. Where is the issue coming from? They don't go to that. Why? Because they don't know. So you see that people suffer. They face so much in life and they suffer so much in life without understanding that the reason why they are suffering and going through these things is because they have been raised into a certain structure that needs to be demolished and another one of righteousness to be constructed. But if somebody has been raised with a father who corrects, who has instilled discipline in them, when these children, when they come into Christ, it becomes very easy for God to build on them what is already there, because what is there, the foundation is good. But now if the foundation is bad, everything has to be brought down and another thing to be constructed. But how many people are willing? As I conclude, I want you to understand that the reason why we have failed fatherhood is because we have missed it in the way that we are forming families. The environment has to be right before a child is brought in. So a child who is born in an environment that is wrong, that child will suffer so much in life, financially and in terms of morality. They go through so much in life. And the only hope that these children have is God. And the question is, how many preachers today can really push such a generation, can really father such a generation and make sure that how they have been constructed is demolished and they are brought into another structure, a structure that is Christ-like. That is the problem that we have in our generation. If we can get it right when it comes to how we are bringing forth children and how we are raising them, so many of the vices and issues we have in our society today will not exist, because the foundation has to be right. So I urge you to please watch this video and like this video, share it to as many as you can, because so many people, so many children are in this system that God never ordained for children to be born. And the only hope of such children is God. So let us not give up on God, because God remains the solution to all our problems. God bless you.